Herzlich willkommen beim Potato Club Wrestling Podcast mit euren Lieblingsmodis JP und Benni.
Einen wunderschönen guten Tag, Potatoes. Herzlich willkommen zu einer neuen Interview-Time. Ich freue mich sehr besonders darauf, weil es heute wieder eine Premiere gibt. Wir haben zum ersten Mal einen Gast aus Übersee. Es liegt ein ganzer Ozean zwischen uns. Und zwar haben wir heute einen ganz besonderen Gast. Er war schon bei AEW und bei Game Changing Wrestling zu Gast. Das wird er uns später aber selber mal erzählen. Im Hintergrund, heute nur im Hintergrund, ist unsere positive Kartoffel mit am Start. Ich will euch aber auch nicht lange auf die Folter spannen und hole die mal direkt ins Bild. So, welcome to the German most recent podcast for wrestling interviews. Jake Omen.
Hey,
Welcome.
thanks for having me.
Yeah, thank you for your time. So we always start with an opening question. It's always the same. So I ask you the question. So everybody, I have, Moment.
Of course.
So Potatoes. Ich habe hier so einen kleinen Spickzettel for me. How did you become a wrestling fan and what fascinates you about the sport? That's always our start question.
Yeah. So I first saw pro wrestling in 2000. I was 13 years old. I was flipping around on TV, and I came across SmackDown right after WrestleMania 2000. And I still remember the first few guys I saw were Benoit, Jericho, Eddie Guerrero. And these guys were like, I could tell right away as I was watching the whole show that they were like the best athletes on the show, the guys whose technique was the finest. And they looked like machines, like they could, have conditioning for days. So I was a naturally overweight kid, and I wasn't very athletic. And I thought those are my superheroes, and I wanted to be like those guys. So I wanted to be like those guys in particular. And I thought, well, maybe one day I can be. But I probably didn't take it as seriously. Then I was 13 years old. But pretty soon after that, I dove really deep into the niche wrestling, like ECW, and I started looking up Japanese tapes, and that's where I found that these guys came from. And I started doing all the research I could online and old message boards and stuff like that. It used to be really hard to find all of that information. And I started buying VHS tapes, off of eBay and through message boards. And pretty soon I was obsessed with Lucha Libre and obsessed with Japanese wrestling. And I was really attracted to the guys who were these super athletes. And so that was what started it. And then 4 years later, I was 17, and I found that there's a wrestling school I could go to about an hour and 20 from my house. And I just started going. I was just a young, naive kid, and I fell in love with it. And I didn't even realize it was a really bad school. But that's what got me started.
Oh, okay. Sounds nice. But what made you decide to go from being a wrestling fan to stepping into the ring yourself? What kind of mindset changes?
Yeah, I think I had a lot of the wrong conceptions about this business that a lot of people do, where they think it's a pseudo sport instead of an actual sport, and that they might be able to do it. And so I jumped in thinking, oh, I can probably do this. And then I quickly realized I can't. It's not really possible. This is a real sport, and these people are training like athletes harder than any other sport there is. So it took me a while to understand that and to get my mind right. But I think the thing that brought me to it initially was thinking, oh, maybe this is a thing that anyone can do, which I now know is not correct. But I'm glad that I was able to stick around for long enough for people to help me realize what it would take for me actually to succeed.
Yeah, I think it's a very difficult sport. You need condition for days. In Germany, sure. I told you a German sentence, no, but you probably not understand it. Ich muss kurz, I have to think about it again. In Germany we say ohne Kondition keine Konzentration. In English, maybe without any condition, it's not concentration.
Oh
I
yeah,
don't know it's the right,
that makes sense.
but that's every trainer told you.
Yeah, and that makes complete sense. You have to. The best athletes are the ones that succeed, the ones that go far, right? Conditioning outlasts most technique.
Yes. Was the first training session the way you had imagined it would be, or was it different?
I think it was what I imagined it would be. It was a lot of older men beating me up and making me do push-ups and really like kind of taking advantage of the fact that I was a young guy and slamming me repeatedly without actually telling me how to take such a thing. So I think it was what I thought it was, just in a much less glamorous place than I thought it would be, because the first school I went to was a pretty dirty, pretty grungy location, which I now know that is most wrestling schools all over the world. But at the time, I thought it might be a little fancier, like if you were training for baseball or basketball, that you'd go to a nice, clean facility and have a nice, well-kept and well-groomed coach that speaks to you professionally. And I realized that that's not really the case in wrestling.
I understand. Our training school is long time ago. There you bring your car to repair it. Now it's our wrestling school.
Of course. Yep. This place, I think, had also been a mechanic shop at some point.
Yes. Yeah. It's maybe it's for you when you want to open a wrestling school. It's very cheap to buy this kind of a building, so you don't have much to do. Put a ring in it and then go for it.
Yep. And whatever the cheapest way somebody can open a school is probably what they'll do.
Yes. What does a typical training week look like for you? How often do you go to the gym, and how pay close attention to your diet? Do you ever treat yourself to something outside your nutrition plan that might not be the healthiest?
Yeah. So now, every few years, my training changes the older I get. So I used to train every day, 7 days a week, no days off. And it would be, 1 hour weight room session, 1 hour cardio session, maybe 1 hour martial arts every day. And I ate pretty clean diet wise, but not very meticulous, not like counting calories. Now it's completely different. I hired a coach a year ago to tell me exactly what to eat and when. So now I count every single calorie, every protein, carb, and fat every day. I have a coach that stays on me about all that. Once a month, if I do well on my diet for 4 or 5 weeks, then I will get one meal where I can have what I want, which I just did because I did a 3 months without having any bad food, preparing for one match last weekend. So I prepared from January 1st to March 28th for one match against Davey Boy Smith Jr. last weekend. And then the next day I went and had a nice big hamburger and fries because that was like the one meal I'd been missing. So I have a little bit of grace in there, but not too much. And then with workouts, now I lift weights 4 days a week. I usually am in the ring doing some type of in-ring conditioning 3 to 4 days a week. And 5 days a week, I do cardio for 30 to 40 minutes or so. Kind of a lower intensity cardio, just enough to get like the breath going, kind of hard to make a sentence, but not like sprints or anything like that.
Oh, you wrestled against Davey Boy Smith Jr. It's amazing. I know him because I grew up with his father. I watched wrestling since the early 90s. So his father was in the prime.
Oh, yeah. My Bulldog's one of the best of all time. And I would say his son, Davey Boy Jr., is easily one of the best wrestlers I've ever been in the ring with.
No, I believe that. I saw you already wrestled for AEW, but we come to that later. And in game-changing wrestling, was that with Davey Boy?
No, just the show I wrestled Baby Boy last weekend was at an expo called the Squared Circle Expo in Indianapolis. It's one of the biggest wrestling conventions in the world. Squared Circle Expo and WrestleCon are the two huge ones, and I'm lucky enough where this one is in my city, my home city, every year. So I got to wrestle him in front of my hometown, which was nice.
Oh, I think so. You're on the East Coast or West Coast?
I'm in the middle.
No.
So
In
I'm
the middle.
okay.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm in the middle of the country.
And what time is it right now?
Right now it's 2:44.
Okay. It's here we have 8:45 in the evening, so it's a little bit late. But
Yeah,
for you, it's the best time.
Yeah, it's easy. It's right in the middle of
Ach, jetzt ist er weg. Okay. So, Potatoes, das passiert auch mal. Er ist kurz weg. Wir gucken mal, ob wir ihn wieder zurückkriegen. Wir sind gleich wieder da. Kleiner Blick. Now we are back.
Perfect.
So you can talk again.
Yeah, it's nice. It's in the middle of my day, so yeah, this is easy. I went to the gym, prepared my food for the next few days, and now I'm getting ready for the shows I have this weekend. And yeah, I still have plenty of day left.
Perfect. I already told our Potatoes you've performed for various promotions. You wrestled in 46 countries around the world. Is this correct?
Yes, correct.
Oh, amazing. How do you manage this?
It's tough. It takes pretty much constant work, especially now that I have to try to find places to go. It's really difficult to find wrestling in some obscure places. So, if I want to try to find wrestling in Luxembourg, well, I have to know people in all the countries around, and I have to ask them if that's possible in any way. So then I have to hope that some of these countries have maybe just one show a year, where it's like, they had matches at Luxembourg Comic-Con, or Croatia had their first show last year. Slovakia had their first show last year. Bulgaria had their first show last year. So I have to have a pretty extensive network that can help me out with all these. And luckily now, a lot of people all over the world I've become friends with, and they know that I want to go to all these different places. So they'll tell me, a friend of mine said, hey, there's a new company in Taiwan. Do you want to come wrestle in Taiwan? Well, yeah, of course I do.
Oh, nice.
But it's really tricky because also most companies and small ones don't have too much of a budget. So I want to make some of these trips happen. I have to get very creative and get 2 or 3 companies or 4 companies to try to work together so I can make it over and hit all 4 of them at the same time. I can't independently go to South Korea next week and then come back and expect to make money. Which, not that I really care too much about money, but it is my job, so I need to try to. But yeah, now it takes work. I try to find anywhere I haven't been and figure out a way in, regardless of what that is. And I come to some of them as a wrestler, I come to some as a coach, and then sometimes I do both at the same company on the same weekend, which is nice.
In January, where you should be at OPW, you give in Germany we call wrestling seminar.
Yeah.
But unfortunately, because of the weather, the trains don't drive.
Yeah, and that would have been really convenient on that trip, where I could have came for coaching, immediately followed by the wrestling match, and then with a couple other wrestling matches in the country, I would have been set up pretty well for success. So unfortunately, I ended up not doing so well on that trip financially because I missed events and I missed coaching sessions, and I wasn't able to help out the people who signed up for the seminar, which is disappointing.
Yeah, but 1 week later you was at Unlimited Wrestling in Bremerhaven.
Yeah, it was the week before actually. So yeah, on the 3rd I was Unlimited, and then the next week on the 10th I would have been at OPW, but unfortunately it didn't happen.
How was this for you at Unlimited? You told me before you were 6 years ago the last time in Germany. No, you were. But how was it for you? What was the feeling?
Yeah, it was great. The Unlimited has a great company. They have great production. The crowd is awesome. Everyone in the locker room was really cool. So it was a pleasure to work for Unlimited. I hadn't worked in Germany in ages, and the last time I worked in Germany was for Alex Wright's company down in the south. So it's quite a big difference as far as part of the country I was in. Quite a big difference as far as locker room. I think there were one person, maybe two people that were on that same show the last time I was in Germany 6 or 7 years ago. So it was really nice to be back. The German crowd is great.
It's maybe the best crowd, except the English crowd. They're much more crazier than the German crowd. But Germany is also cool. But Bremerhaven, where you were, it's a little bit special. They are always on fire.
Oh, nice. Yeah, they were great all night. I'd put them up there with any of the best crowds I've been in front of.
That's good. You already performed for promotions. Are there many differences in the locker room? Because you competed for AEW and game-changing wrestling. And what's the differences between the small independent shows and the big promotions? Can you tell us?
Yeah. There's not really too much of a difference. It's pretty similar groups of guys and gals doing the same thing. We all show up, and a lot of people think in very similar fashions, and we work very hard. The only real difference is like the smallest low-level shows versus the highest. The only differences you'll find will be that people on the higher level are making sure to get their workout in before they come in, or they're bringing in their own meals and their own meal prep, and those are kind of some of the bigger differences. Or you'll see on the higher level shows, a lot of the guys getting a workout in the ring before the show and like testing the ring and testing the ropes and kind of those little tiny things where they want to make sure the production is great. They want to make sure they're on point, they're warmed up. But besides that, I mean, locker rooms all over the world are pretty similar.
No, I think so, because you traveled many locker rooms in many countries. Can you tell us on which country the crowd is the most on fire for you? Or I think every crowd is a bit different.
They are, yeah. So the places that I can say that in the last couple of years that have had the best crowd, I was in Ukraine last year, and their crowd was crazy. And then I was in Bulgaria for the first wrestling show they had in like 60 years. But those two in particular were wild and like crazy insane. But throughout the years, I've been lucky enough to be in front of some really awesome crowds. So those are just the two that stick out in the last year. But yeah, I've had great crowds in Denmark, France. Those are probably the other ones that kind of stick out the most.
A couple of years ago, we had Corona. Do you have bookings on this time? And there was much less crowd, I think.
Yeah.
How was it for you to wrestle for a much smaller crowd, maybe without any crowd?
Yeah, it was tough. I didn't like it at all. I think it was a really tough time for wrestling. I think it was a really tough time for wrestlers. We didn't have any events for maybe 3 months, from March, April, May. And then we started having more recorded shows with no crowd, or shows with 20 or 30 people spread out. And it's different because the wrestlers feed off the adrenaline of the people. We feed off the fans. We need them. And when you don't have those, it gets a little tough, depending on my style. Luckily with my style, I can still kind of just get in the zone a bit more than other people can, because I'm focusing on wrestling, but you still feed off the crowd, and not having them makes it really tough.
Yes, I have big respect for WWE this time, because they do a WrestleMania in a complete empty performance center without any crowd.
Yeah, that's terrible.
That was terrible to watch for a fan, and I think as a wrestler, it's terrible to wrestle without any reaction.
Yeah, I have complete respect for them for doing it, for trying to entertain people in such a tough time. So I really love that they did it. But yeah, I'm empathetic to all the people who had to be the wrestlers on that show, because that was tough. It's a no-win situation.
Yes, I believe that. In your 20-year career, have you ever had any bad experience in the locker room? If so, can you tell us some?
Oh
Or
yeah.
it was every time fine? I don't think so.
Yeah, no. I mean, I've been a part of probably 3,000 shows by now. So every now and then you're going to have some issue, right? There's going to be sometimes there's fights in the locker room.
Mm.
Yeah, there's a lot of people who are very passionate about this, or sometimes things don't go the way they want to match. So yeah,
Mm.
there's been a handful of fist fights.
Mm.
I've seen in the locker room. Uh, sometimes you see some guys that are pretty messed up on like drugs or alcohol in the locker room, and that's not a pretty scene. And sometimes some of the old veteran guys come around and they're pretty rough. That's kind of a tough thing to watch. So I definitely have had to work with some of those people before. I've worked with a few former WWE stars before who came in and were just completely drunk. And I know I'm going to have to go out there and still try to do my job to the best of my ability and better than I know. I'm going to have to do better today because that
Yeah.
person is not here. They're working against me. So,
Mm.
but you handle everything you can as well as you can. And you try not to worry too much about it or lose any sleep afterward.
Mm. That brings me to another thing. How do you organize your travels? Because you travel much. That must be a bit of challenge, especially when your shows are far away. What kind of difficulties do you face in these situations?
Yeah, a bunch. The biggest one is just trying to make it from city to city. And with time,
Mm.
I am really lucky in almost 20 years. I had never missed a show due to a travel related issue. And
Mm.
then my last two trips to Europe, I missed shows because of travel related issues. So I made it 20 years without ever missing a flight. I had ones canceled, and then I would get a new flight rebooked, or I
Mm.
would have to take a train or a bus. There's times where I would have to get a new flight to a different airport that's still 3 hours away from the show, and then
Mm.
somebody would pick me up, or I would rent a car on my own and then have to drive over the speed limit to a show to get
Mm.
there on time. So um, there's a lot of that's actually happened a ton in my career,
Mm.
which is we plan things out and we have very little transfer window. Like Italy in October, my friends and I, we had 1 hour to go from one plane to the next plane,
Wow.
and we didn't make it. We should have, but they
Mm.
wouldn't let us through the gate because
Mm.
we had to be 40 minutes early and we were 37 minutes early.
Mm.
So it's always trying to make sure that we can actually get from city to city.
Mm.
And 9 times out of 10, one specific travel plan might work, and it just happens to be the day where all the trains shut down across Germany.
Mm.
And now we are near Oberhausen and just looking for what airport can we get to fly to a different city to then take a bus to Berlin in time. And so we're pretty good about figuring that stuff out and handling that. But every now and then it doesn't work for you.
Mm.
I do my best to try to give myself as much time as possible in those situations. If I can, I'll always try to get into towns a day or 2 days early to make sure I don't have to worry about that. But then again, sometimes my living will rely on doing a show
Mm.
Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday. In the United States, it's easier because I have to have a car. I have to drive most places in the United States, and flying isn't practical here. It's way too expensive. So luckily, even if I have to drive across the country, I can probably jump in my car and just drive 24 hours straight if I had to.
Mm.
So like even this last weekend, I was near the Gulf of Mexico, near Mississippi and Louisiana, and I had to drive after our show 16 hours straight home to get back home in time. Well, it's not ideal, but we can make it happen. And there was two of us, so I drive 6 hours, he drives 6 hours, and then I drive the next 4. So, we just do whatever it takes. But we have to get pretty creative sometimes, and sometimes it still doesn't work out for us.
How many miles do you drive per year with your car?
Oh, that is a good question. So Well, even on just that trip last week, it was 2,000 miles round trip, I think. So that's one trip. And then when I was young, I put at least 1,000 miles a week on my car every week when I was young. So, I mean, there's probably a couple of years where I hit 100,000 miles or maybe upwards of 150,000 or 200,000 miles in 1 year.
At this time, at the moment, when you drive this in Germany, it would be very expensive because our gas is so much expensive right now. Is it in America too, or is it just in Germany?
Our gas doubled a few weeks ago. Yeah, it's still cheaper than Germany, but it's our gas is still double the price of what it was 2-3 weeks ago.
Actually, we pay per liter €2.25.
Yeah, so you're looking at the $6 or $7 per gallon, and we're paying like $4.50. Yeah.
Yeah, it's very, very bad at the time.
Yeah, same.
No, I believe you're much more on the road than I am.
Yeah,
I have only 6 miles to my working place, so
that's great.
In the summer, I can drive with my bike.
So I love that. Yeah, and unfortunately, most of the United States is not developed around public transportation, so we don't have good infrastructure with trains, buses, planes. So a lot of times you have to own a car and you have to drive everywhere.
Yeah. The next question is, I think, a bit challenging for you. Which of the 46 countries you have visited was the most challenging for you, and why? And which one was the most enjoyable for you?
Most challenging is Japan, for sure.
Okay.
Because in Japan, they require you to work out 5 hours a day. And when you have your matches, they're the hardest matches you've ever had against the best athletes you've ever had in front of the hardest crowd to please. So Japan is definitely the hardest one as far as most challenging. Although it might be up there for most enjoyable, because if you do succeed, it's very rewarding. If you can get the crowd over there to really enjoy your work, you are doing really well at this. So definitely the most challenging is Japan. Most enjoyable is really tough. There's a few that come to mind. Finland. I really enjoy Finland. I really enjoyed Denmark. I really enjoyed Germany. Where else? Bulgaria. I really enjoyed. I've only done one show there. I've coached there a few times. Definitely Germany, Denmark, Finland are probably the top of my list as far as places I like. Also, those are also the places I really like in terms of the people, the culture, the food. Those are places I feel more at home.
Yeah. In Denmark, the people that are living, they are so great. Yeah, they're so friendly to other people. In Germany, you don't have it any place. This kind of people, but in Denmark, I do my vacation there too, because people are nice.
Yeah,
and the landscape is nice.
Oh yeah, it's beautiful.
Yeah, I love it there. My podcast colleague, this is his second hometown there.
Oh, nice.
Yeah.
Everywhere I go, though, I try to appreciate something. Like anywhere I go, I'm going to try to enjoy something about the local, like the city, the country, the people. Some places aren't as welcoming. Maybe more like some of the more southern places I've been were not quite as welcoming. But I still try to find something I enjoy everywhere, even if it's just a good cup of coffee or a nice building, nice tourist spot. There's always something good.
Oh, I love a good coffee. To any time.
Oh, 100%.
It doesn't matter. It's in the morning, at night. It doesn't matter for me.
Oh, 100%. I'm one of my favorite places in Indianapolis right now.
Nice. I read that you also work as a trainer for wrestling promotion.
Yeah.
With your experience, that's not surprising to me.
Thank you.
But how did the idea came about, and did you have any support with the project?
Yeah, originally I didn't want to be a coach. And then 6 years ago, there were two guys from Indianapolis, my city, that they just wouldn't stop asking me. Like they just repeatedly messaged me and texted me. And every time I saw them in town, they just wouldn't stop asking me to train them. So I gave in and I talked to a local company and asked if I could use their ring to train these two guys. And one of them quit immediately, but then the other guy was stuck with him for the next 6 months or so. And then after that, that's started me as a coach. And then I did that for 3 years out of another school. And then 3 years ago, I got my own building. I started my own school. And it's been great. It's really stressful. It's really tough because I want all of these kids to succeed. I want them all to do better than I did. And I made a lot of mistakes. So now I have to try to get through to all of them to not make the same mistakes I did. Because if I had started listening to my mentors sooner and I had found my mentors sooner, I could have probably done even more than I have. So that's how coaching kind of got started. Was two guys just didn't take no for an answer. And before you knew it, one of them was, he was doing great and on a lot of the really big shows here in the United States as well. And now I have, a good handful of students who've done stuff internationally, have done stuff on AEW TV and WWE TV. And, I've had students get WWE tryouts and stuff like that now too. So it's rewarding, but it's really tough. And when we're young, we just make so many mistakes. I don't have any children of my own, but all of my wrestling students have become my children, and they frustrate me just like if they were actual kids.
Yeah, I think that sounds like the same mindset that Martin had.
Yeah.
To teach us, he told us the same thing. Don't make the same mistakes that I did. And therefore,
that's powerful advice.
Do you make your own shows or just have okay, nice.
Yeah, so actually I started running my own wrestling shows in 2013. So I've been running my own wrestling shows for 12 years. And I never intended to have a school with it. But luckily when I started my school, it went hand in hand with the live events I run. So actually it's helped out quite well too, because now my shows have a good amount of my students who are really, really talented. So it's quite helpful. They both work together now. But I've been running my own shows. The company's called White River Wrestling. Because in my state, Indiana, the White River is the big river that runs through the middle of it. Okay. It's like kind of our localized name.
Sounds nice. How often do you make shows in the year? Once a month or?
Yeah, the average is once a month. So the average is once a month. Every now and then we might go 1 month without a show, and then the next month has 2 or 3. So now we took a break for March and April. Our next show is May 8th. Then we have June 5th, and then we'll have July 11th. So we'll have once a month for probably the rest of the year, besides 1 or 2 small festival shows.
Yeah. In Germany, you don't have to make a show at after June.
Oh yeah.
Because July and August, everyone is on vacation, so nobody buys tickets, so you don't have to make a show at this time. Is it in America similar or?
No, America year round. Yeah, the only thing that makes us take a break is if our venue is outside. So like the weather might have to stop us. Like my favorite venue we have is a brewery, a bar, but it's outside. So we can only make shows spring, summer, fall. We can't make shows in winter because the winter here is too cold.
Would you come back to Germany when the time is fit this or?
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, for sure. I'll be back in June in Germany in June, actually.
Oh,
Yeah.
nice.
So shows. Trying to think of where. Ludwigsfelde,
Mm.
Blauburen, and somewhere around Cologne, I believe I have
Mm.
shows in June.
Because in Cologne there are minimum of there you have Oberhausen,
Mhm.
Duisburg. There are so much cities where are wrestling promotions
Yep.
about Cologne, but Ludwigsfelde is near Berlin. I think this
Mhm.
is wrestling sports Ludwigsfelde.
Yeah.
Has to be.
Yep.
Oh, nice. Maybe I will show up.
No,
It's
please do.
about 2 hours from me, so therefore
Oh, what city are you
maybe.
in?
Oh, repeat,
Oh,
please.
what is your city?
I live near Magdeburg.
Okay.
It's the capital city of not of Germany, but of my. I don't know the English word for that.
Oh, yeah, like
Mm.
the province, but not. I know it's not the word.
Yes,
Yeah.
we have about 220,000 people live here, so it's
Oh, cool.
not the smallest town.
Yeah, not small. It's not the biggest.
Yes, the biggest is Berlin.
Yeah.
No. And then Munich, Cologne. That's the biggest, but they all far away. I told you that my podcast colleague is not here today, but no, I don't told you, but he's not here today because he's busy. But he has a favorite question.
Yep.
Then my opening question is always the same, and his question we always ask to the end of the record. It's difficult. So
All right.
you get to pick your 3 dream opponents. You can choose from any pool, WWE, AEW, New Japan Pro Wrestling, it doesn't matter. You can choose German wrestlers,
Okay.
any pool. Pick wrestlers from anywhere in the world and tell us why you choose each one.
Perfect. All right. So active wrestlers wrestling right now.
No, it's no. You can pick also wrestlers that are already dead. It's
Okay.
always
Cool.
okay.
Okay. So. Okay. I'll throw both. I'll throw both. So people who are no longer wrestling. Eddie Guerrero, Great Muta, and AJ Styles. Those are definitely the 3. Similar reasons for each. They were all phenomenal athletes, very explosive, great timing. They were all world traveled people. They were masters of the game and of their technique. So those are the 3 people I would choose that aren't wrestling anymore. My 3 dream opponents right now. Timothy Thatcher is a guy I really want to wrestle. So he's at the top of my list. Bandito is another one I'm dying to wrestle. I was supposed to wrestle him last weekend, but there was an issue with his visa in the Mexican government. And then let's go Will Ospreay as the last one. Once again, the Ospreay and Bandito especially explosive. Thatcher's a student of technique. He's a master of technique. He's perfect with every little movement. When it comes to Bandito, the speed and explosiveness, and I love Lucha Libre. Lucha Libre is like my favorite professional wrestling style. And then Ospreay, he's perfect. Yeah, he's the best worker in the world. Like there's nothing you can say that Ospreay doesn't do well. Yeah. So those would be my 3. Yeah, there's a couple others if I thought like in specific places. Germany, Axel Tischer is the guy I'm dying to work. Axel Tischer. Roderick Strong would be another one. Like if I was at AEW, that's the guy I want to work with. Roderick Strong. Yeah, it's kind of tough. It's tough to only choose. It's tough to only choose a few.
Yeah, but you already choose more than three. It's okay.
Yeah. We'll go with Thatcher, Bandito, and Osprey for the official answer.
That's okay. I saw Osprey the first time live. I was at the first AEW in London. I was there in the stadium. I saw Osprey against Jericho. It was amazing.
I would love to have been there. That had to be great.
Yes. This kind of wrestler to watch live, it's amazing. Jericho singing his song live, amazing. The last match from Sting in Europe, amazing.
right.
It was just so great to be there. That would be
I would've
in
loved to
my
have been there.
memory for forever, I think.
I'm sure.
And the trip there was funny too.
Yeah.
We was 5 people, and we have so much fun.
Heck yeah. Oh, road trips and the traveling for shows is one of the main things that makes pro wrestling great. You know,
Yes.
getting to adventure with people and getting to experience life with other people and make new friends and being on the road, crazy stuff will always happen. Things
Yes.
will go wrong, you know, and then you will end up in weird situations, you know, meet weird people. It's great.
Yes. When you were stuck in Oberhausen in January, you were with Alexa Valus, correct?
Of course.
Ah, nice. Because
she-
you are talking to her in Bremerhaven again, therefore.
Yeah, so we became friends because we were on the same show in Finland years ago. We've stayed in touch ever since, and we've become good friends. And I think she's exceptionally talented. I think if there's a show in Germany that's not using her, they're crazy. You know,
Yes.
she's great, and she's
Yeah, she
actually coming to the United States here pretty soon too. So I'll be able to help take her to some shows here, and she gets to work in the United States for the first time, and she was able to help me out a ton in Germany. So I'm trying to help her out as much I can here in the United States. So yeah, hopefully it'll be a good trip for her, just like I had a great trip when I was over there.
Oh, sounds great. She's our women's champion for over a year now.
Yeah, there's a
well
reason.
deserved.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
And I think maybe they hold the title this year till end of the year or longer. Who knows?
Oh yeah, it's gonna be whenever she wants to lose it. You know, that's she's awesome. She's a machine.
Yes, definitely. What are your future career plans? Does Jake Omen still have plenty of fuel in the tank for many more years as a wrestler?
You know, I think I want to wrestle for one more year, maybe 2. I'm looking at life after in-ring competition. I think now I want to work for the high-level companies as a coach. I want to work for the high-level companies backstage. I want to make these shows better. I want to make these performers better. So I think coaching is more my focus now. I really, in the next year or 2, I'm going to try to keep going. I'd love to get more appearances on TV. I'd love to make a little more money, but I really just want to knock out those last couple matches. You know, I want to work with Bandito and Thatcher, and have knock on wood, Will Ospreay. I want to get those matches, and then I'm pretty good stopping pro wrestling. But I'll never be able to walk away from it. It's the only thing I've ever known, and it's the only thing I've ever wanted to do. So it's my passion. I'm not leaving it ever. Just moving into a different role.
Yes, that's how many wrestlers do this.
Yep.
Many of the big names, Undertaker, Ric Flair, have the passion. I think Ric Flair was stepping in the ring with over 70 years old, right?
Yeah, I don't know how old he is
That's
now,
crazy.
but the guy will not stop.
Yeah.
Maybe he should, but he will not stop.
Yeah, Mensch. Watch at the time. We are already done 45 minutes.
Cool.
That's the time passed by fast.
Oh yeah, this is great.
I hope my English was okay for you.
Oh, it was perfect.
Yeah. I think much better than your German. Do you know
Yes.
some German words, or you don't know any German words?
Only a little bit. Only a little bit. it wasn't enough to help me out. Yeah.
Wahrscheinlich, maybe danke
Yeah.
means thank you. Guten Tag means
Good dog,
hello.
yes. Yeah.
Und wie geht es dir? How are you?
I didn't know that one.
No problem. It's fine. Now we have already learned a lot about you. I'm sure you could share much more. But
We'll have to do this again sometime.
Yes. I just wanted to say we have to save it for another episode.
Yeah, perfect.
Please, when we go into the outro, don't leave it because
Okay.
I want to have some feedback after it.
Yeah, sure.
That's just for me.
Yeah.
You have the last word after me. I told
Cool.
you so. Then you can. Our fans, we say potatoes to them because we are the potato club. We are the German potatoes. That's classical. You always say to German people, deutsche Kartoffeln, German potatoes. We don't know why, because the potato is not from Germany. I don't know.
I like it.
So, I will speak to our fans now, then you, and then
Great.
we are finished.
Perfect.
So, liebe Potatoes, wir haben es geschafft. Die erste Folge auf Englisch mit unserem ersten Gast aus Amerika. So, thank you very much, Jake, for having you here in Germany at our podcast. So, maybe we see us in June.
Yep, perfect. I hope so.
Und Potatoes, lasst den Jake auf jeden Fall ein Follow da auf seinen Instagram-Account. Wir verlinken das für euch in der Videobeschreibung. And we will put your links to your social medias in the video description.
Great.
So
Thank you.
our fans can follow you if they want. So they have to. Und deswegen sage ich einen schönen Abend. Have a nice evening. See you next time. So, Jake, you have the last word.
Hey, thank you guys for watching this. We're supporting all pro wrestling, especially pro wrestling there in Germany, at the Potato Club here. And yeah, give me a follow. Keep up to date. I update my Instagram the most often. I also have a YouTube where I put up travel videos. Yeah, just keep supporting wrestling.